Imagine this. You and a friend are alone in an old house at night. A floorboard creaks. The lights flicker. Then both of you freeze because you both swear you saw the same shadow move across the hallway. Same place, same shape, same split second. So now the question is not just, did you see something? The question is, can two brains generate the same unreal thing at the same time? Can two people actually share a hallucination? The short answer is, not in the magical mind link way people usually imagine. But the real answer is way more interesting. Two people can absolutely believe they saw the same thing. They can be affected by the same poison, the same drug, the same lack of sleep, the same fear, the same confusing signal, or the same powerful suggestion. And because human brains are built from similar hardware, they can sometimes fill in the blanks in very similar ways. But to understand where the line is, we need to separate three things that get mashed together: hallucination, illusion, and interpretation. A hallucination is when your brain creates a perception without an outside object causing it. You hear a voice when no one spoke. You see an animal that isn't there. You feel bugs crawling on your skin when nothing's touching you. Your brain is producing the experience from the inside. An illusion is different. An illusion starts with something real, but your brain misreads it. A coat on a chair becomes a person in the dark. A tree branch becomes a hand. A weird reflection becomes a face in the window. Something is there, but your brain guesses wrong. An interpretation is what happens after perception. You see a streak of light in the sky. One person says meteor, another says drone, another says alien ship. Same input, different story. Most famous shared hallucination stories are actually shared illusions plus shared interpretation. There's a real trigger, then two brains make a similar mistake, then the two people lock onto the same explanation. That's not boring. That's the whole trick. Your brain doesn't passively record reality like a phone camera. It builds reality moment by moment. Your eyes send signals, your ears send signals, your body sends signals, and your brain makes its best guess about what's out there. Most of the time, the guess is excellent. That's why you can catch a ball, recognize a friend's face, and dodge a bicycle without doing a full scientific investigation every second. But when the signal is weak, fast, scary, dark, noisy, emotional, or expected, the brain has to lean harder on prediction. And prediction is where weird things sneak in. Think of your brain like autocorrect. If you type "see you at the res," your phone might guess restaurant, restroom, or resort depending on the context. Your brain does this with perception. If you're walking through a bright grocery store and you see a dark shape, your brain guesses shopping cart. If you're walking through a supposedly haunted basement and you see the same dark shape, your brain might guess person. Now add a second brain standing next to you. That person has the same bad lighting, the same creaky house, the same spooky story, and the same nervous system built to detect danger quickly. Their brain may make a similar guess. Then one of you says, "Did you see that shadow?" And boom, the other person's memory starts sharpening around the word shadow. This is where shared experiences can become strangely synchronized, not because the hallucination jumped from one head to another, but because attention, fear, and language line up the brains. Let's take the classic haunted room scenario. Two people hear a noise. That noise is real. Maybe pipes expanding. Maybe wind. Maybe an animal in the wall. The noise makes both people alert. Alertness changes perception. Your brain starts scanning for threats. In low light, your visual system becomes less precise, especially with color and detail. Your side vision is good at motion but bad at identification. So a curtain shifts, or a car headlight moves across a wall, or a person blinks at the wrong moment and the brain says, movement. If one person gasps, the other person's brain treats that gasp as evidence. Now, their own perception becomes biased toward danger. If one person says, "I saw someone," the phrase gives the second brain a category. Someone. Not something. Someone. Later, when both people tell the story, they may honestly remember seeing the same figure. This is not lying. Memory isn't a sealed recording. Memory is rebuilt. Every time you remember something, your brain reconstructs it using the original traces plus later information. That's why witnesses to the same event can influence each other without meaning to. If one person says the jacket was red, another person may later remember red, even if they originally weren't sure. So can two people have the same hallucination? If we mean a perfectly identical internally generated movie, independently created in two separate brains at the exact same moment, that's extremely unlikely. Brains don't share a video feed, but if we mean two people can have very similar false perceptions because they share the same situation and influence each other, yes, that happens all the time. Now let's make it stranger because there are cases where the outside cause isn't just fear or suggestion. Sometimes the environment can push multiple brains into hallucinating. Carbon monoxide is one of the creepiest examples. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas that can leak from faulty heaters, fireplaces, or engines. It reduces the blood's ability to carry oxygen. The brain is extremely sensitive to oxygen problems, so people can get headaches, confusion, dizziness, nausea, paranoia, and sometimes hallucinations. A family might think their house is haunted because multiple people feel watched, hear things, see shadows, wake up terrified, or feel mentally foggy in the same building. The shared cause isn't a ghost, it's a poison affecting all of them. This matters because when multiple people report weird perceptions in one place, we shouldn't jump straight to supernatural or psychological explanations. Sometimes the first question should be, is the air safe? Other substances can also create overlapping hallucinations. Certain drugs, contaminated food, alcohol withdrawal, some medications, or accidental exposure to chemicals can change how the brain processes signals. If a group takes the same hallucinogen, they may all see patterns, colors, distortions, or movement. But even then, they usually aren't seeing the exact same impossible object in perfect detail. They're having similar brain effects, then talking, reacting, and shaping the experience together. A good example is seeing faces or patterns. Humans are face detection machines. We're so tuned to faces that we find them in clouds, toast, wallpaper, electrical outlets, and the front of cars. This tendency is called pareidolia, which just means your brain finds a meaningful pattern in random or vague input. If two people look at the same knot in a wooden door, both may see a face because the visual cue is genuinely face-like. That's not a shared hallucination, it's a shared pattern detection mistake. Now think about mass sightings. Throughout history, groups of people have reported seeing strange lights, religious visions, monsters, or impossible events in the sky. Some of these probably began with real ambiguous things: planets, comets, weather balloons, mirages, aircraft, unusual clouds, reflections, or optical effects. But once a crowd forms, perception becomes social. Humans are social animals. We use other people's reactions as information. If everyone around you is staring upward and whispering that something miraculous is happening, your brain doesn't stay neutral. Your attention changes. Your expectations change. You search harder for the thing everyone else is seeing. In a noisy crowd, you may hear fragments. It's moving, it's glowing, it looks like a woman, it's changing color. Those fragments become instructions for perception. This doesn't mean the crowd is stupid. It means perception is not isolated. We constantly borrow certainty from each other. There's a famous kind of psychology experiment where people look at unclear images or make simple judgments, and group pressure shifts what individuals report. If everyone else says line A is longer, or the blurry image shows a dog, people may start doubting their own eyes. Sometimes they go along publicly. Sometimes their actual perception and memory shift. The social world gets folded into the mental world. And this is where the phrase mass hysteria often gets thrown around, but we need to be careful with it. It's an old, loaded phrase, and it's often used lazily to dismiss people. A better term is mass psychogenic illness when we're talking about groups developing real symptoms without a single physical toxin causing them. The symptoms can be very real: fainting, nausea, shaking, pain, panic, even temporary movement problems. The cause is not imaginary in the sense of fake. Stress and expectation can produce real body events. But group symptoms aren't the same as everyone seeing the same hallucination. They show that nervous systems can synchronize under pressure. If you're in a school, factory, church, battlefield, or emergency, and people around you start panicking or reporting symptoms, your own body can join the alarm loop. Here's the key mechanism: prediction plus feedback. Your brain predicts danger. Your body reacts with a faster heartbeat, tighter breathing, and sharper attention. Those body sensations feel like evidence that something is wrong. That evidence increases fear. Fear increases symptoms. Symptoms spread socially. The loop feeds itself. Now let's zoom into the brain for a second, but keep it simple. Your brain is always balancing two streams: bottom-up information and top-down expectation. Bottom-up means signals coming from your senses: light hitting your eyes, sound waves hitting your ears, pressure on your skin. Top-down means what your brain expects based on memory, mood, context, and belief. When bottom-up signals are strong, expectation has less room to distort them. In bright daylight, if a golden retriever runs across the yard, you're probably not going to see it as a refrigerator. The evidence is too clear. But in darkness, fog, noise, exhaustion, grief, fear, or intoxication, the evidence gets weaker. Top-down expectation gets louder. Your brain has to guess more. A hallucination can happen when top-down activity becomes so strong that the brain experiences its own prediction as perception. It's not just thinking about a voice, it's hearing one. It's not imagining a shape, it's seeing one. This is one reason hallucinations can feel absolutely real. The experience may activate some of the same brain systems involved in ordinary perception. From the inside, the label real is not attached only to outside objects. It's attached to how the brain presents the experience to consciousness. That's also why telling someone that's not real doesn't instantly make it vanish. If your visual system is presenting a figure in the room, the experience feels present. You can intellectually question it and still feel it. So what would it take for two people to truly share a hallucination? You'd need both brains to generate a very similar perception at the same time without a real external object causing it. That could happen loosely if they share the same trigger, like a drug or fever, and the same expectation, like both being told they might see a specific thing. But the details would almost certainly differ if you separated them and asked them privately right away. That's the test that matters. If two people say they saw the same impossible figure, ask, did they compare notes before describing it? Were they in the same conditions? Was there a real ambiguous stimulus? Were they primed by a story? Were they stressed, sleep-deprived, intoxicated, poisoned, grieving, or frightened? Did one person's reaction happen before the other's report? Did the memory grow more detailed over repeated tellings? Those questions don't ruin the mystery. They help us find the actual mystery. Because sometimes the most amazing part isn't that something supernatural happened. It's that two separate brains can turn the same scrap of reality into the same story. Let's use a simple example. Imagine 3 dots and a curved line on a page, 2 dots above, 1 line below. Almost everyone sees a smiley face. There is no face there. There are just marks. But because your brain has a powerful face template, the pattern snaps into meaning. Now imagine the pattern is much messier: shadows on a wall, leaves moving, a half-heard whisper. If two people share the same template, same fear, and same context, they may snap to the same meaning. A lot of shared strange experiences probably work this way. The world gives a smudge, the brain supplies a creature. But there are also cases involving relationships, where one person's belief seems to pull another person into it over time. In psychiatry, there's a rare condition sometimes called shared psychotic disorder, or folie à deux, which is French for madness of two. The basic idea is that a person with a strong delusional belief influences someone close to them, often someone isolated or dependent, until both share the belief. A delusion is a fixed false belief held strongly even when there's good evidence against it. That's different from a hallucination, which is a perception. But they can interact. If one person believes neighbors are spying through the walls, the other may start interpreting noises as surveillance too. They may not both literally hear the same voice, but they can share the same false framework for reality. Again, this isn't a spooky mind connection. It's social influence under intense conditions. Humans are built to align with people we trust, especially when we're isolated from other viewpoints. If the relationship becomes the main source of reality checking, the shared story can harden. This is why isolation is such a big deal. Reality testing is social. We compare experiences. We ask, did you hear that? We check cameras, we turn on lights, we open windows, We get outside opinions. When those checks disappear, the mind can drift further without correction. Now, here's a twist. Sometimes two people really are seeing the same thing, and the mistake is calling it a hallucination. If two hikers see a strange animal shape in the distance, maybe it's not a hallucination. Maybe it's a bear, a person, a bag caught in a tree, or an animal neither of them recognizes. If two pilots see a light, maybe it's another aircraft, a reflection, a weather phenomenon, or an instrument issue. If two children see a face at the window, maybe it's a reflection from inside the room. Multiple witnesses increase the chance that something external happened, but they don't automatically tell us what it was. They help with one question. Was there a shared trigger? They don't settle the explanation. This is important because skepticism shouldn't mean automatically saying everyone made it up. Good skepticism asks better questions. What exactly was seen? From what angle? For how long? In what lighting? Did the witnesses speak before giving separate accounts? Is there video, audio, environmental data, medical information, or a physical trace? Could a normal object look abnormal from that position? A single witness can be wrong. 10 witnesses can also be wrong in the same direction if they're all looking at the same ambiguous thing and influencing each other. Think of a magic trick. An entire theater can see the same impossible event. Nobody is hallucinating. The magician controls attention, expectation, timing, and interpretation. The audience shares a false conclusion because the setup guides every brain toward it. A lot of everyday misperception is like a magic trick performed by bad lighting, stress, and the brain's own shortcuts. So where does that leave the original question? Can two people see the same hallucination? In the strict sense, probably not as a single shared mental object. Your hallucination is generated by your brain. My hallucination would be generated by mine. There's no known mechanism that lets one hallucinated image appear identically in two separate minds, like a broadcast. But can two people have matching false perceptions? Yes. Can they misread the same real stimulus in the same way? Absolutely. Can they influence each other's memories until the accounts match? Definitely. Can the same toxin, drug, illness, sleep loss, or emotional state make multiple people hallucinate in related ways? Yes. Can a close relationship or group setting spread a belief so strongly that people experience the world through the same false story? Also, yes. The most accurate answer is, people don't usually share hallucinations. They share causes, cues, expectations, and stories. And those can be powerful enough to make the final experience feel shared. That's the part that should make you pause. Reality, as you experience it, is partly negotiated, not in the sense that you can wish a chair out of existence. If you kick the chair, your toe is going to vote very strongly for chair. But the meaning of unclear signals is constantly being shaped by context and other people. If someone near you screams, your world changes before you know why. If a trusted friend says they heard your name whispered, you're more likely to hear patterns in the noise. If you're tired and scared in a dark room, your brain will spend less time asking, "What is that exactly?" and more time asking, "Is it dangerous?" That bias isn't a flaw in the simple sense. It's survival logic. For most of human history, mistaking a shadow for a predator was cheaper than mistaking a predator for a shadow. The brain is designed to be fast first and perfect second. But that speed has a cost. It means perception can be contagious. Fear can be contagious. Certainty can be contagious. Even memory can be contagious. The practical takeaway is surprisingly simple. If you and someone else have a strange shared experience, slow the story down. Before comparing details, write down what each of you noticed separately. Check the environment, turn on lights, look for reflections, sounds, airflow, animals, screens, carbon monoxide risks, medications, substances, and sleep loss. If there are repeated hallucinations, confusion, or symptoms like headache and dizziness, treat it as a medical or safety issue first. And if the experience was emotional or meaningful, you don't have to mock it to investigate it. A brain-based explanation doesn't make the feeling fake. It just means the human mind is active, predictive, social, and sometimes unbelievably convincing. So the next time someone says, "We both saw it," that sentence should make you curious, not instantly convinced and not instantly dismissive. The real question is, what did both brains have in common at that moment? Same light, same sound, same fear, same story, same chemical, same expectation? Because maybe two people didn't share one hallucination. Maybe they shared the perfect conditions for two brains to build the same impossible thing. And honestly, that's almost as strange. If this made you look at your own senses a little differently, that's the right reaction. Your brain is doing a brilliant job most of the time, but it's not a camera. It's a storyteller with access to your eyes, your ears, your memories, your fears, and the people standing next to you. And sometimes, when the room is dark enough and the story is strong enough, two storytellers can accidentally write the same scene.